Welcome once again to the Life of a Marketer podcast. I'm happy to have today Julia on our podcast. Julia is going to be a little bit different guest than normal, which so I'm very glad to have her on the podcast. Julie, I'm going to let you introduce yourself like we always do. Tell us about who you are and what it is that you do.
Yeah, I'm Julia Kramer, and I have over 15 years, close to 20, of corporate marketing experience, mainly B2B, mainly SaaS. And then about spring of last year, my husband and I decided to venture out into the purchasing of a franchise, which is Steam Activities for Kiddos. So I'm kind of, doing two things right now. I have one foot in the corporate world and one foot over here in the franchise marketing world.
Awesome. Awesome. Tell me a little bit about Snapology for our viewers that don't know what exactly that is.
Yeah, so Snapology is STEAM activities for kiddos ages 2 to 14. We take, we basically help them build 21st century skills by learning through play. So it includes your hard skills like engineering, coding, robotics, stop animation, a whole array of things, in addition to those soft skills like working as a team and presenting out to a group. A lot of those things that some of our kiddos, especially coming out of COVID, need a little bit of a refresher on.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. All right. So let's get into it. Tell me what's the best thing for you, Julia, that's been for you being in the marketing industry. What's the best thing?
Oh my gosh, it's never boring. I don't know. My guess would be I'm not the first person to say that, but I love marketing because there are so many facets to it. You will never be an overall expert in marketing. And if anybody tells you they are, they're lying to you. You can know enough to be dangerous in a whole bunch of areas and know enough to build a fantastic strategy and to execute on that strategy. But you'll never be an expert in everything. So there's always something to be learning. There's always opportunity for partnership. And that's one of the reasons, again, I'm a people person. So I love the opportunity to find people who do things well that and better than myself, and partner with them on things.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So what sort of advice do you offer to those that are in the marketing industry right now?
Oh my gosh. Well, hang in there. I know it is. It's rough right now. Every time the economy is, if there's even a hint of a downturn, we tend to see people pull back from marketing, and we have some pretty clear data from, especially during COVID, that companies who pulled back on marketing lost a lot of ground against their competition. Marketing is also something, and I'm learning this very acutely as a franchise owner. Marketing has to have a runway in order to work. We're talking about people, right? You're always marketing to people, whether it's the B2B space, whether it's B2C, you're always marketing to an actual person, and people have a very complicated process of making decisions. So this assumption that often people have that, I put a couple ads out and that's just going to get me the turnaround I need, or the sort of knee-jerk reaction. I've seen it where sales quite aren't where they want them to be. So, oh no, we need to get marketing to get more leads. If you've waited to that point to where your funnel is dry, it's often too late for right then, right? You have to do some sort of Hail Marys. So just to think of marketing as a constant investment and to understand that that runway that it needs in order to truly be effective.
Awesome. Awesome. Can you share with us maybe a little bit now having this small franchise, maybe for marketers that are working with these kinds of businesses that are local, franchise type businesses, what sort of marketing actions have you done so far that have been successful in Snapology?
Yes. Well, first of all, I just have to say that there are a lot of just basic principles that are applicable at the small business level as much as they are at the enterprise level. So my history, my tenure is with the enterprise corporate, those big companies with big budgets, right? But the same principles apply to those smaller businesses as well. And first of all, that is focus, really knowing your audience and knowing who it is that you're going after, defining that well, and being just almost violently protective of it, because it's so very easy, especially with me as a new business owner. I've felt it myself. This idea that I don't want to let any opportunity go. I don't want to, I'll sell to anybody kind of an attitude, right? And so but that really isn't where you're going to have your biggest impact. So for me, for what our model is, and really for the mission of what we're trying to do, again, partnership marketing is really the way that we have seen the most benefit so far in our business. And our business, again, is very new. But by that, I mean finding folks who have a like mission. For my specific example with STEAM Powered Kids, this looks like working with the PTA groups, working with parent-oriented businesses, parent-oriented and kid-oriented events, and bring our table out to them, supporting the PTAs, the PTA events. So really finding where our audience is and then going out to them, especially in the beginning, for building awareness. Again, is very understated a lot of times. People have to know about you, to think about you, especially important more than ever, maybe now, with as much that we're just inundated with things all day. And they might hear about you and think, wow, that's a really cool thing or idea, or I need that. But then the next 20 people, get into their head and they've lost, I think we all have an element of ADD these days, right? They've lost the value prop that you had, right? So that's why repetition is so important. So just being in front of people physically, if possible, these days is actually, even at MRP, where I was prior, direct mail is seeing a resurgence, because seeing people and feeling things and being tangible, especially post-COVID, has a very powerful effect of, bringing you top of mind to people.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I would agree. I mean, being physical presence now can be very powerful because not as many businesses take the time to do that.
And I think face to face, like what we're doing right now too, sort of counts, right? Because you're having a discussion, you're humanizing the marketing process. And maybe that's more of the point, right? Is doing something, human to human, something different, something above, just a digital display.
Right. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing all of that. I really appreciate it. If you've got a franchise, I would definitely listen to some of that advice. I think that's very good advice. So moving on to the next question, what other successful people in marketing like yourself would you like to acknowledge that should be on the podcast?
Well, first of all, I have so many that we probably wouldn't have time for it all, but I've had the benefit of working with some pretty amazing folks. So I'm kind of going to go backwards, but I would say my most recent boss in the real world. That's how I talk about my corporate time. Is Mark Ogney. He's got that analyst mind, and the way he thinks about things it was always very educational for me. Jennifer Golden also worked there. She's she's a way of spinning value props like nobody you've ever seen. It's great. She's a great brand mind. Larry Johannes is one of the partners here at Willow Street Agency in Dallas. I was a 3 or 4 time customer of his, and he was my boss back in the day. So he's a good example of how, you never know how people are going to play out throughout the rest of your career, right? It's just really good to make those connections. And then I would say Lacey Nichols is another just brand genius that I appreciated working with. Ashley Gardner, who is just a unicorn in her ability to be a wizard on the digital side, but also manage beautiful graphics and creative. And there's a bunch of other folks, but Rob Mart, he's literally could be a professor of marketing. He has a doctorate in it. And we used to joke, you should be teaching classes, not leading the team, right? But yes, a lot of great people that I've worked with in the past. If I forgot anybody, it was just because I didn't have enough time.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing all of those. We might reach out to them maybe.
Yeah,
Likely
you
we will.
should. They all have awesome things to say, I'm sure, and great perspectives.
Awesome. All right. So one final question for fun. Tell me the oldest technology you remember using.
Oh my gosh, I think the oldest, I'll go back to, just being little, rabbit ears on television. And then phones with cords. We were laughing about that the other day, those phone cords and closing the door on them. Those cords could take like some damage, right? Like and then phone cords today break in 2 seconds. Is it just me? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be like cooking dinner, right? And you have it there, and like you'd like wind it
wrap it around
like
the whole
things,
thing,
as you're
closing the
around
door on it. I mean,
yeah,
the dog chewed on, you know what I mean? And it was all fine. You never worried about why. I never experienced a phone cord breaking, but then like phone cords today for just charging, and all they do is sit there and charge. I'm not walking around with it.
Yeah, that's right. Why can't they make them more like the phone cords from the past?
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, they wouldn't sell as many, so that's probably why.
Yeah. Well, they also change the format every 2 seconds on us, right? So yeah.
Right. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for rabbit ears. That's one of but believe it or not, I think that's still the record. Discounting my mom, who was the first podcast I did just to practice. She said that oldest technology she remembers using is a pencil, but we're not going to count that because that's a smart aleck answer.
Yeah.
But the oldest is transistor radio. So a transistor radio is so far the oldest from a lady who is a little bit older, that she's still working, and that was her oldest technology she remembers using. So she has the record.
Okay, interesting. Well, yeah, my grandpa had a motorhome, and he had the where he talked to all the different truck drivers, and they'd share information. I was always fascinated by that he could just open line, talk to anybody,
Right.
But yeah, that's great.
Yeah, but for those of you who don't know, the ears on the TV, the satellite, some people may not know what that is, that are younger, that are Gen Z or whatever, to get the signal for the TV channels. And you can still do this, actually. It's just they don't.
Yeah, you can still do it for the basic. Yeah.
They would have these antenna that you would just like pull out, or they would just be.
If you had to position them right too.
Yeah,
so it wasn't just pulling them out.
Yeah,
you had to like find the right angle. And a lot of times it was like somebody standing there, and then it would work. And then as soon as you walked away, it wouldn't work anymore.
Right. And so people used, like, originally, that's how people would, when TVs first came out, that's how they would get the signal, which was in black and white, and that's how they would watch TV. But you can actually still go to the store and you can buy one. and get air channels, but they don't look like that. They're like, now they
No.
just look like a box, and they,
Yeah, they look a lot, and they probably work better too.
yes, they do. I have a friend who has one, and it works. It gets like, I don't know, 10 or 12 channels for free. So it's
Yeah.
pretty good. So you and you can, I think actually now that I have a Roku, so the Roku actually has one in it. You can get all kinds of air.
Oh, well, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's pretty cool. So anyways, thank you for being on the podcast. We're going to end here. We keep our podcast short. Everyone, you can always catch our podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 something. We never release it on the hour, so it'll be either a little bit before or after 11. And once again, thank you, Julia, for being on the
Yeah,
podcast.
thanks for having me.
You were an excellent guest. Like, subscribe. Best way to be able to access the podcast is subscribe to us on YouTube. But we will stream it via social media platforms on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thank you once again. And this has been the Life of a Marketer podcast. Over and out.